Heavy clashes erupt between government forces and Houthi militia on different fronts. Iran-backed Houthis exfoliate celebrations of religious occasions to extort Yemenis. Houthi rejection to renew the truce pushes the future of Yemen into the unknown. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news for me, Shazza Abdelbay. The Arab Parliament condemned the Houthi militia's rejection to extend and renew the truce that was approved by the Yemeni government. The parliament members said the Houthi rejected to renew the truce, which confirms its rejection of peace efforts and its determination to continue terrorist operations. The parliament stressed the need for the international community to support efforts to extend the truce in Yemen. Warring parties started to mobilize troops shortly after the deadline of the truce passed without extension. Iran-backed Houthis escalated in different fronts, while government forces stay ready to deter such attacks. This report has more details.
Heavy clashes between Iran-backed Houthi rebels and government forces have killed at least 8 people, a security official confirmed last Friday. The fresh round of violence comes amid heightened tensions following last week's failure to extend a ceasefire between the warring sides. The official said exchanges of fire broke out late Thursday night in the contested western area of Jaffa, killing 4 troops from either side and injuring 5 others. The failure to extend the nationwide truce last Sunday has threatened to reignite the bloody civil war after a 6-month cessation in frontline fighting. The Houthis blamed the dead-ended negotiations on the United Nations, which has facilitated the ceasefire talks, while the US envoy to Yemen accused the rebel group of derailing the talks through last-minute demands. As Sunday's deadline for a renewed agreement passed, both sides reportedly deployed reinforcements to the frontline cities of Ma'rib and Taiz and exchanged gunfire in the western governorate of Ad-Dala. The United Nations-backed truce took effect in April and had originally established the partial opening of the capital's airport and the Red Sea port of Hodeidah, as well as the lifting of the Houthi blockade on the country's third-largest city, Taiz. However, disagreements over the opening and control of Taiz's key entry roads meant the city has remained under a Houthi-imposed siege. The fighting has turned Yemen into one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, pushing the Middle East's poorest nation into near famine.
The United States Organization of Peace awarded 2 Yemeni women the Making Peace Prize. The 2 Yemeni women, Muna Lukman and Ruma Al-Damsi, were among 6 women selected to win this award from the U.S. Institute of Peace. This award was presented for them as an appreciation for their efforts in achieving peace and public development. Massam announced that it removed more than 300,000 landmines and various unexploded ordnance in the liberated areas. The United Nations Development Program revealed that landmines had killed and injured 1,800 civilians, including more than 600 women and children, over the last 4 years. Reports from international and local organizations confirmed that Yemen has witnessed one of the largest mine-laying operations since World War II. The Houthi militia reopened an Iranian hospital in Sana'a 13 years after closing it. They used this hospital as a center for spying. In addition, the militia changed the hospital's name and allocated more than 3.5 billion riyals to prepare it. This move is considered one of the group's largest corruption projects. The Iran-backed Houthis are collecting fees from businessmen and shop owners in areas under their control, under the guise of funding events to mark the occasion of the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. This report has more details.
Green lights have been spreading in the Yemeni capital Sana'a as the sun goes down, as part of a ceremony imposed by the Houthi group on the celebration of Prophet Muhammad's birthday. The Houthi group resorts to using this occasion and mobilizing it by forcing talks about political issues related to the conflict and the ongoing war in the country. In Houthi-controlled areas, residents are complaining of the group's exploitation of the occasion to impose taxes and collect donations for their own benefit or to support the fronts, which are among the annual events, even though the country is experiencing a deterioration in living conditions and a human tragedy. The Houthi celebration this year coincides with the end of the UN truce in Yemen, and this encouraged Houthis to send messages to citizens, either to celebrate the Prophet's birthday and donate, or to be included among the fighting fronts. And citizens feel fear if they do not respond to these calls. A Yemeni researcher said that Muslims celebrate the Prophet's birthday in all parts of the Islamic world, but the Houthi celebration is a kind of search for political legitimacy and religiously wraps it up with the Prophet's birthday to tickle the feelings of the poor citizens. He believes that the danger of political exploitation of the Prophet's birthday is a transformation of celebrating the malicious sectarian ideologies rather than celebrating the Prophet's birthday and his message, the message of Islam. And thus, they are trying to portray the matter as if they are celebrating their leaders who established for them all these political privileges, which offends the messenger and the message of Islam.
Government forces stopped a Houthi attack northwest of Sada. A local military source said that the militia tried to attack while firing heavy artillery. The source added that the government forces dealt with the elements, inflicted heavy losses on them in lives and equipment, and forced them to retreat. Yemeni government and Houthis failed to extend a 6-month truce. The international community has blamed the Houthis for being the reason for not extending the truce because of their demands. This report has more details.
On October 2nd, the UN brokered truce agreed upon in April expired without any further agreement to extend it. This decision has the potential to plunge Yemen back into a cycle of bloodshed, after the longest period of calm the country has experienced since the conflict began in 2015. Firmly supported by UN Special Envoy Hans Grunberg, the ceasefire initially allowed the partial opening of the Houthi-controlled Sana'a airport, as well as the Red Sea port of Hodeidah, and sought to relieve the Houthi blockade on Taiz, the country's third biggest city. Despite limited progress on some fronts and claims of breaches of the agreement by both sides, the truce has resulted in a substantial decrease in fighting within the country, resulting in a drastic reduction in casualties and displacement. However, without an extension of the ceasefire, it will be impossible to fully capitalize on the gains made thus far. While discussions continue, both parties blame one another for allowing the agreement to expire. Yemen's government blames the Houthis, who have also rejected Grunberg's recent request to extend the ceasefire for 6 months. The Iran-backed Houthis, meanwhile, believe that many of its requests have gone unanswered, beginning with the unconditional reopening of the Sana'a airport and the total lifting of the blockade on Hodeidah. Another source of contention was the group's demand for payment to public officials in regions under its control. This request had previously stalled owing to difficulty in founding an appropriate mechanism for such payments. The failure to prolong the ceasefire in Yemen will have disastrous humanitarian ramifications. Returning to a war would certainly reverse small yet substantial improvements, resulting in further airstrikes, civilian casualties, internal displacement, and additional limitation on the provision of much-needed humanitarian aid. Without the truce, fuel shipments into Yemen's north will most certainly be interrupted, adding to an increase in food and other commodity prices that are vital to resolving Yemen's food security issue. The inability to extend the ceasefire or develop a lasting truce represents a severe setback for Yemeni peace efforts, despite ongoing regional and international diplomatic efforts. If the escalation is the only remaining course of action at this stage, the focus is on keeping all channels of communication open in the absence of such an agreement.
Yemen's humanitarian crisis runs deep, and it's sadly far from over. Our work here is focused on sustaining vital and life-saving services of a health system that is fragile and close to collapsing. I have great respect for the people of Yemen and great concern for every person who must endure abject poverty, homelessness, violence, and other dire threats to their physical and mental wellness. WHO is here to promote and preserve the right to health for everyone, everywhere in Yemen. This is our purpose and our commitment in solidarity with all people of Yemen.
Coming next in the news. In Hodeidah, students returned to schools after years of interrupted education. Welcome back. Hundreds of children in North Hodeidah have returned to schools after years of interrupted education due to Houthi control over their areas. This report has more details.
After years of forced deprivation owing to the Houthi terrorist militias' rule over their communities, hundreds of children attended the May 22nd school and Al Saleh school in Uzlat al Nizali, east of Hais this year. With unwavering determination, children from rural communities come to schools every day to pursue their education.
The militias have turned Al Saleh and May 22 schools into centers for mines and prisons. Students have missed up to 4 years of schooling. After years of halted education, the first grade in May 22 has nearly 500 students, and in Al Saleh school, nearly 300. This is proof that militias don't seek knowledge. People are terrified of them because they are violent and barbaric.
I go to school in search of education. I wish our school had gates or windows. I haven't been here in 4 years.
For many of these children, their formative years have been bereft of schooling, and they have been deprived of their right to primary education. Those who dropped out of school returned with a hunger to learn. They exercise discipline in their pursuit of knowledge and concerned with the school's humble facilities or the scorching rays of the sun. They march on, ambition propelling them, eyes trained on a better future.
I am 13 years old. I haven't gone to school in 7 years, since the war began and the Houthis took over. Our village has been recently liberated, which means I'm a first grader in school.
After years of deprivation, these students revisit their schools, only to find that the war has desecrated these vital buildings, converting their schools into detention centers for civilians and morbid hubs for the manufacture of mines and explosives.
Yemen participated in the high-level conference organized by the International Telecommunication Union in Romania. The Yemeni delegation was headed by the Minister of Communications and Information Technology, Dr. Najib Al-Awaj. At the conference, he called for the support of developing countries by the International Federation and to provide solutions to improve digital information and communications technology services in these countries. Aden Electricity Corporation announced that some diesel stations have gone out of service. The General Electricity Corporation of Aden stated that the outage of a number of power plants is due to the reduction of diesel fuel. Aden Electricity Command appealed to all concerned parties to speed up the providing of power stations. The International Monetary Fund revealed that high global goods prices have doubled inflation and exacerbated food insecurity in Yemen. The bank estimated the annual inflation level of food prices in Yemen is at a rate between 45 to 58%. The bank stated that Yemen faced a decline in the volumes of wheat imported from Russia and Ukraine. Workers of Cleanness and Improvement Fund in Hadramaut organized a protest in Mukalla. The protesters demanded their rights of payment of their dues, requesting to be provided with housing, lands, medical and social insurance because they are more vulnerable to diseases. In Taiz, the director of the tourism office called on local businessmen to invest in this sector in Mecca. He said that the investment law gives one investor a period of 6 months license to start working on the project. If nothing happens, the license is directly to another investor. The Undersecretary of Taiz discussed the projects funded by the World Bank in the field of roads. The meeting discussed environmental and social issues community health and safety issues for the urban road maintenance project in Taz. The Director General for the Emergency Project reviewed the unit's activity in completing maintenance and rehabilitation projects in the targeted districts. In Taz, citizens complain from the spread of counterfeit medicines in the pharmacies and the hospitals of the city. This report has more details.
Many citizens are standing in this warehouse to search for the type of effective medicine. After obtaining it has become very difficult in light of the spread of smuggled medicines amid an unprecedented medicine crisis that Taz is experiencing.
طبعا الأدوية المهربة وخصوصا المزورة هذا بلاء وسرطان على المجتمع.
Smuggled and fake medicines are a curse for the society. We make every effort here in the health office, like mentoring pharmacies. But the main boards remain opened. So, medicines should not enter without review from the General Authority for Medicines.
For the citizen, it was compared to the medicines of the official agencies, most of which left the city at the beginning of the war, so that the alternatives remain from smuggled medicines, even if they were mined with dangerous and poisonous substances. And medicines of unknown origin represent a real threat to public health that is exacerbating day after day amid weak government oversight.
كرقابة احنا مسؤولين عن الأدوية عن أي شكوى تصلنا عن الدواء.
We are responsible for medicines or any complaints about them, starting from investigating and following the source of the drug, whether it is fake, and give warnings about it.
In order to confront the problem, downloading a barcode reader application on a mobile phone is relatively useful to verify the source of the drug. Smuggled medicines are one of the crises that came to the brink of war, as medicine has turned into the most profitable field of trade, and the patient has turned it into a commodity.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Heavy clashes erupt between government forces and Houthi militia on different fronts. Iran-backed Houthis exfoliate celebrations of religious occasions to extort Yemenis. Houthi rejection to renew the truce pushes the future of Yemen into the unknown. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.